Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Now we're going to a different level. What you have learned so far is the first level. Now we're going to a second level, inshallah, to a third level in the near future. So we're going to the second level now, which is above and over what you had learned from me and from others, from Badeka, South Dakota, and from Pak Mansur Shah, Pak Aziz, and from the Malaysian side, from Jafar, Azmi, Sufi, Mariatu, and others. But that is the level 1. We're going to level 2, and inshallah to level 3. So it started from the lecture last week. So those who missed the lecture, I'll go to the synopsis of the last week lecture. Now, as we know, and you had learned at the beginning, Allah was all alone, all alone. Nothing was with him. Now, Sheikh Abdul Qadir was of the point of the opinion that he wanted to know himself. That was why he created mankind, so that he can learn from mankind about himself. But I disagree, with respect, I disagree with his opinion. Because he's all alone, and he stated in the Quran that he wants to have amusement and play. He wants to have fun. Fun with whom? Nobody else. Fun with himself. And that is why the subtle self emerged. Tajali, the subtle self emerged. And from the subtle self, which is totally unknown, you cannot visualize it because it's part of the greater self. Allahu Akbar, greater self. Because part of the greater self is unknown, totally invisible and so on. But when it started to light up, then it has a form, and that light, we call it the essence, not Nur Muhammad, the essence. And from the essence manifested the Lawh Mahfuz. The Lawh Mahfuz is the design, the grand design of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whatever written in the Lawh Mahfuz will occur according to its time frame given. And there is strict compliance. There is no diversion, no digression, no change. The Lawh Mahfuz was created perfect, solid, and there shall be no change. So the question was how this strict compliance carried out. There shall not be any change in the Lawh Mahfuz. Everybody, every self must conform to what had been laid out in the Lawh Mahfuz. So how this strict compliance? Mankind are great in numbers, varieties and so on. But how come all mankind? We don't talk about the animal and so we just strictly on the mankind. Why all the mankind conform 100% to what have been written in the Lawh Mahfuz? How come there's no digression, no diversion, no change? You know, how is this possible? You have children in your family, all cannot be the same. No? Each character differs. But here, what had been written in the Law Mahfuz, mankind will conform 100%. 100%. But how Allah achieved this result, 100% compliant? Right? So this is what we're going through the second level, I told you. And you can see this, what he's saying. It's only my tail, not my whole body, which is shaking. We are talking about the subtle self, the subtle self, the self, strict compliance of the subtle self. We're not talking of the Akbar, we're talking about the Latif, the subtle self, the minuscule, the tiny, weeny part of Allah. Latif, subtle part of Allah, not the Akbar, but the Latif. So we're not talking about the elephant, we're talking about the tail. Bear this in mind. Okay? Now, how does strict compliance come about? And you can see everything already listed in the law map. Everything, a perfect record. That means they will be 100% compliant. No leeway about it. And with him is the master record, law mahfuz, master record. And Shaykh Abdul Qadir say, verily all in the hand of Allah, be it good or bad, he ascertained them from the outset. So that means everything good or bad already listed in the law mahfuz. Okay? All occurrences and incidences will be all occurrence and incidents are but Allah wills, as He is the creator who plans everything. Okay? So, all occurrence, incidents are but Allah's will, as He is the creator who plans everything. So He planned everything. Kun, the whole grand design, perfectly done. Okay. So we can see again, for it is He who creates everything and determines its nature in accordance with His own design, His own grand design. Everything follow what He has designed in the law mahfuz. And you see in the Quran, and you must live according to Allah decrees, according to what He had laid out, the decree laid out, ordinance, promulgation, order, according to Allah decrees. You must follow that. So the decree is in the law mahfuz. You must follow that order until the day of resurrection. We have to live. Okay. In other words, you are verily within divine predestination. Everything has been predestined, takdir. You are in the sea of divine predestination, and the waves are beating on you mercilessly. So every movement, every thought, every action, everything we did, it did not come out from predestination. It is not out of predestination. Everything within predestination. Every movement, every speech, every thought, everything predestined. If not predestined, Allah is not all wise. He knows. He created the destiny for every one of us, and that is predestination. And we must follow this destiny or Allah decrees until the day of resurrection. Okay, and this I want to digress a bit here. And we must live according to Allah's decrees until the day of resurrection. Now, at level one that you had learned so far, we must live according to the book of life, Takdir, which hang on our neck. We must live according to that book. But that is level one. That is level one. At this stage, we are going to level two. Okay? You can see later. So bear that in mind. Okay? And predestination become the sixth pillar of faith. You must believe in Allah, the angel, the books, his prophet, the Armageddon, Qiyamah, as well as predestination, the Takdir. That means everything had been considered by Allah. Everything had been listed in the Law Mahfuz. Nothing is missing. Okay? And you cannot change it. Rasulullah said, if you think you can change it, you're pleased in hell because you think you're smarter, you're smarter than Allah. Cannot. If you don't accept predestination, everything will be predestined. Even you give in charity gold as high as Mount Uhud, Allah will not accept. And as mentioned by Pak Mansur yesterday, if anything happen, do not say, if you do it this way, it won't happen. If you do it that way, it won't happen. Don't say that. Allah say, if anything, Rasulullah said, if anything happened, say Allah had written it down. And what he had written down will surely happen. Let it be known if you say, if only, that will invite Satan to influence you, or to tempt you. Okay? So it is hard to imagine how free will can operate if our behavior is determined by physical law. So it seems that we are no more than biological machines, and free will is just an illusion. Yes. Even a scientist, Professor Stephen Hawking, agreed that free will is just an illusion, and this is the picture Pak Deka also use, I also use. Predestination is like the sea, wherein all the fish swim freely. You can exercise your free will, but still within predestination, like the sea. And therefore, nothing can change. So Allah said, my scheme is exceedingly firm. But how he managed to make it firm? Mankind, billions or maybe trillions, and mankind of various colors, language, culture. How can these trillions of people will act in conformity with what listed in the Law Mahfuz? How is it possible? Even our children in a family cannot agree to each other. But here, Allah made it such that all creation, including mankind, will conform what in the Law Mahfuz. Okay? So he said, no change you will find in my practice. Whatever he said, it will be there. So how is it achieved? This is the second level. Second level, be very careful here. Look, you have learned so far the outlook of sifat, outlook of essence, and the outlook of Marifat. No? You have to learn. Okay? The sifat is the creation, the Lauh Mahfuz. The essence is the hakikat. Okay? The secondary existence. The first one is the normal existence, then the secondary existence, then the original existence. That is the subtle self, or the latif. Okay? Subtle self, or in Malay, maha halus. Now you all consider carefully. Consider carefully. In this tree, the sifat, the creations, and the essence, and the subtle part, the maha halus. These three, where the power lies. You see, the sifat, no power, powerless, nothing. Essence, nothing, it's just a light. No power, nothing. The power is this one, the maha halus. Even halus still, it has the minute power of Allah, because it's part of Allah. So if you understand this, you can see, hey, actually who moved the other two? Who moved the other two? Cannot be the sifat move, because it got no power. It can't think, it got no power, nothing. Cannot be the essence move or think, it also powerless. Then you realize everything you see, the one behind it that move it. The one, that Latif, that's the one that move it. No. There you see the whole world stretch. It's only surface only. You go down the essence, there's a second surface. Powerless. Cannot do anything. Where the power that causes is that Latif. That's the one that moves. It's like that wayang kulit. The wayang kulit itself doesn't have power. The screen also doesn't have power. The pak dalang, the one behind, that move it. Okay. So you all be very careful here. Don't you all criticize the surface. You see the surface, oh, these unbelievers, or this stupid, this ugly, this that. Hey, that top part, the sifat, nothing, no power, nothing, cannot do anything. Don't you say, oh, what this essence that move it, essence, no essence also have no power. The one that moves, the one that put in motion the essence as well as the sifat is the latif, the subtle part of it. That's the power, where the power lies. So look again, look everywhere. No? And realize the one that moved everyone walking, the bird flying. It's not the bird flying. It's not people walking or eating or what. It's the subtle part of him, or subtle self in action. In action. But that you must realize. The previous level we learn, so we just reach to the point, we annihilate the form, we annihilate the essence, both of manifestation, and we see the subtle part of him. That was the level 1. This level, you don't annihilate. You see the movement of the form, the movement of the essence is actually the movement of the subtle part. Straight away. Then it's a different dimension. Different dimension. You just look at it and you marvel. Everything in motion, in fact, is the Latif in motion. Because the form got no power. The essence got no power, their manifestation. When you realize this, so you see Chinese, Malay, Indian, and so on, you see this imam, you see the crook, the robbers, whatnot, the good and the bad. You know who is in action. These people you see a manifestation don't exist. It's just like your child using a sarong and become ghost. Ooh. You know behind the sarong, you know, who sounded ooh, is your child. Okay. So this is how it's achieved. So being the subtle self, which is part of the greater self, is part of him. And this is the one who is in action. Definitely the law mahfuz will be followed strictly. He alone played with himself, amused himself with his lesser self, the Latif. He himself, he and his lesser self. The greater self played with the lesser self. The elephant played with his tail. You know, definitely there's conformity. Right? You cannot conform. We cannot conform because we don't exist. We are just mirage, Fata Morgana. We are just like shadow, powerless, nothing. Even the essence is just a light. The one that really in action is the subtle self, the Maha Alus, the Latif. And therefore, there's strict compliance. Nobody else. So the subtle self, to him is due the primal origin. He'll speak to himself. And from him, the origin of everything. Origin of the heaven and the earth. When he say be, it is. To himself. And did the greater self in action? No. He amused himself, play himself with his lesser part, the subtle part, the Maha'alus. He having fun with himself, he having fun with his Maha'alus. So you see here, the greater self, Akbar, Allahu Akbar. He wants to have amusement and play. He doesn't want his greater self to play, amusement and play. He used a little of the subtle part of Latif, the subtle self, to emerge tajadi and then become manifestations. Okay? So, the wajah, the container, that is the subtle self. Now, let me remind you. First, I have to draw a circle. Actually, I cannot do that because we don't know where is the subtle self. Here, there, we don't know. But in order to explain, I have to draw a circle and point out, here the subtle self. But we actually don't know which part, where, how. I have to draw them. Secondly, the container, wajah. We solely in prayer we will say, wajah to wajah, wajah, container. We can't see with the two eyes. We see through our ma'rifatullah. We feel his, that's why I say, with a certainty of knowledge, you can see him you can have the certainty of vision. We are looking at his countenance with certainty of knowledge. Not we see with 2 eyes. No way. We see because we have the certainty of knowledge. So if I put something in my hand, let's say I have this nail clipper, I put in my hand. Because we have pre-knowledge of this. So you know with certainty inside my hand is the nail clipper. That is certainty of vision because of certainty of knowledge. Okay? So we ma'rifat through certainty of knowledge, we can visualize him because of the certainty of knowledge. Okay. We know that, oh Allah, I'm facing you, even though I can't see you. I know you are there. Okay? That is certainty of knowledge, lead to certainty of vision. So his lesser self, the Latif, Tajali, emerge. That's why I say he's the subtle. Verily Allah is subtle and aware. And this subtle encompasses everything. He feels and encompasses every space and particle. It's just like you look at the ice kapal. There's the form. You look closer, minuscules of ice. Minuscules of ice form the ice kapal. That is the essence. But inside the minuscule of ice encompasses is the water. That is the Ma'rifat or the Latif in what I'm trying to explain to you as an example. Okay? So he encompasses everything. You cannot escape from him. No, is hidden from thy Lord the weight of an atom on the earth or in heaven. Now, still, don't stray from that beginning of the knowledge that I gave you. That he encompasses everything. Actually, the second level will tell you, you no need to encompass us. The one that moves, the one that interacts, everything is the subtle. The form and the essence, no power. But we come back to that. Vision comprehend him not. You can't see him, but he comprehends vision. He's the subtle, the aware. Now here again, there's nothing for him to see. What? There's nothing for Allah to see. He only see his own subtle self. So you see, if you are not, you don't have the second knowledge, you fell to the first level, that Allah see all mankind. Allah see all the creation. You forgot what Imam Ghazali say. You know your God, you know your Allah, you know yourself, you don't exist. So if you don't exist, how can Allah sees you? No way. So what? He's looking at himself. That's why it's amusement and play. Okay? Never dream that you exist. never dream. Right? So vision cannot comprehend. There's no other vision, only him looking at himself. It's like the elephant looking at its tail, or we looking at our foot. What else? Don't have nothing is it except him. So when you look again, when you go out of your house, you look all close in front of you all. Remember, that is the Mahalus in action, the Latif in action. You see, man in action, mankind is just manifestation, no power. How can it move? How can it talk? Oh, it's the essence. The essence also is a light, no power, nothing. So what really? The Maha Alus, the subtle part. You understand? Okay, we are going deeper. Okay, so this vision or this is looking at himself. So we look at the handkerchief, you see the handkerchief and you see the thread that make the handkerchief, but you see the cotton encompassing it. You see? So if the handkerchief is just a form, the thread is actually cotton, and the cotton that move it, not the thread, not the handkerchief. If the handkerchief move, is the cotton. Okay. Similarly, we can see a wall. It made up of hollow bricks. But you look closer, the hollow bricks are but sand encompasses. Okay. So when you see the continent, wajah continent refers to his subtle self, which is totally unknown. Okay. Totally unknown because he's part of the greater self, the Akbar. So far we are talking about the tail, not the whole elephant so far. So that is why, as we have lectured previously, you can annihilate the form, you can annihilate the essence, you cannot annihilate the subtle self, because the subtle self is part of the greater self. You can't. Okay? And because it is part of the greater self, it is called, therefore, there is nothing whatever like unto him. This is also applicable to the Akbar and to the Latif. And there is none like unto him, no vision can grasp it. So there is no form, no shape, nothing with regard to the subtle self. But when it lighted up, let there be light, and Allah is the light of the heaven and earth. It's like a niche. Okay. So when it lighted up, there's already a form. And that becomes the essence. There's already a form. The essence is the subtle self as a form. There is light. And so Rasulullah said, you, the essence, are the origin and the end of all creation. Now look, Rasulullah doesn't say that the light is Nur Muhammad. Yeah. You see that? From Sunan Tirmizi. You, the essence, are the origin and the ends of all creation. It's not normal, it's the essence. So we know the subtle part, the essence, now the low mahfuz. Now, before we go, take note, the essence is but a light. Let there be light, and Allah is the light of the heaven and the earth. It's just a light. Okay? No power, nothing, just a light, a shadow, something like that. And though low mahfuz, it can be a scroll, it can be a picture, a mirage, hologram, or computer-generated images. Look, you look into the Quran, you look into sciences, you come to this. It didn't explain low mahfuz in some other form. It's like that, it's all in there. Something that is elusive, something which is a manifestation that have no real existence. It's like a fata morgana in a desert. Okay. So from the essence, manifested and become specific attributes or forms. So you have from the essence come the low mahfuz. The low mahfuz can be a scroll, picture, mirage, hologram, computer generated image. We look at the Quran first. On that day, we roll up the heavens like a scroll of writing. See? Is it low mahfuz is a scroll like this? Roll up. Huh? Scroll. And look here, Rasulullah, I saw Large number of hell dwellers are women, and I saw large number of paradise dwellers are the poor. Look, there is no Armageddon, no Kiamah, Armageddon. There is no resurrection. There's no judgment. Still far away. How come Rasulullah saw this image? How? What Rasulullah saw is definitely a picture of woman and the hell. It cannot be for real because no Armageddon, no resurrection, no judgment as yet. So how come people are in hell if this thing haven't occurred yet? So what Rasulullah see or saw is but a picture. Okay, so it's low mahfuz, a picture, a scroll, a painted scroll. And in order, quantum theory, and this I think Pak Descartes mentioned, it's just an elaborate mirage, a super hologram. A mirage like in this desert, you see as if there is water. But it's Fata Morgana. Fata Morgana, mirage. It's not water, as if there's water. That's low mahfuz, There's something like that. And Stephen Hawking said, maybe it's a computer-generated soap opera. So you see here, it's a computer things, in the drama is on the computer. And Allah say, on the day of judgment, the heaven will be rolled up in his right hand. It's like twisting this knob of computer to the right. Switch it off. So are we computer generated image? Computer generated image. At the end of the day, the knob is turned to the right, close. Okay. So you can see clearly that the form, that is we, all the forms, are just mirage, hologram, painting, nothing more. No power, no brain, nothing. Zero. Don't have anything. Just a painting. And the essence is just a light. Nothing more. No brain, nothing. Okay. The one that make them move, make them think, is the subtle part that encompasses all this. That have the brain, the thinking, the power, all that. Okay? So this is a continuum, how the reaction, now we know that everything, the forms, the essence, are moved by the Latif, the subtle self. But what is the relationship between the greater self and the lesser self, the Akbar and the Latif? The greater self and Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Okay? So this is the greater self, and it wants to have amusement and play, so it amuse himself with his subtle self. That's the Latif. Okay? And you can see here. Now, look at this diagram carefully. You see the low mahfuz, the first one, is a manifestation, pictures, mirage, hologram. Powerless. No brainer. Nothing. Just like a comic, just like a picture. No movement, nothing, a still form picture. And behind it is the essence, which is but only a light. Flimsy, wavering, nothing, no power, nothing. But behind it is the subtle self. Of course, it has power, but lesser power than the greater self. Okay? And the one that moved the manifestation, be it the low mahfuz, or be it the essence, is but the subtle self. So when you see everything, you don't criticize. In the subtle self in action, you see now people emotional about uh, the cruelties of the Israelis towards the Palestinians. Don't be. It's the subtle self in action. Be it the Israelis, be it the Palestine, be it the bomb, everything. When you have this knowledge, second level, you know these are all the interaction of only one, the subtle self. Nothing exists but the subtle self. So even though there's bombing, there's killing, there's murder, there's whatnot, all these things, these are the action of the subtle self, the only existent. We're going to that further because if he is the only existent, how can he be cruel? We come to that later. Okay? But what you see now, you have this level, so we keep our mouth shut, keep our mouth shut. Don't interfere with the work of the subtle self. But why subtle self behave like that? Because the greater self want to have amusement and play. This is amusement and play. There's nothing cruel about it at all. So, and therefore, the subtle self, you can see here, is moved by the greater self. By the greater self. The lesser power, the subtle self, is moved by the greater self. Why? The tail of the elephant is moved by the elephants. It's not the tail shaking itself. The elephant moved the tail. So Latif will conform to whatever the greater self instructed it to be. See? The greater self. So you can see the continuum. It doesn't stop as lesser self or the subtle self, the Mahalus. The Mahalus is commanded by the greater self, Mahabasar. So it is amusement and play using its subtle self. Okay? Like I'm every amusement and play with my hand, you know. I think who showed me that other Padeka or Pak Mansur, where the hand can become a person singing and then it's a hand, you know. It's playing with his subtle self. Okay. And of course, the greater self is in control of the lesser self. And therefore, Allah, the eternally besought of all, although we face the lesser self, when we annihilate the form, we annihilate the essence, we face with the subtle self, but we know the subtle self is not divorced with the greater self. And we know that the subtle self act according to what the greater self wants it to act. Because yes, the amusement and play, the greater self with the subtle self. Okay. So when we do all that to the subtle self, definitely you will go to the greater self because part of it. Part of it. Okay. And we also, part of it also, we are the subtle self. Dua to the greater self. And therefore, Jesus said, If no Allah, Allah is good. If no Allah, there's nothing good. Allah exists. God is a being. If Allah does not exist, we too does not exist. Okay? God is life. You know? Without God, there is no life. So he great that he feel all and is everywhere. Now he's talking about the lesser self encompassing all. He alone had no equal. He had no beginning, nor will he have an end. Because he's alone. Nothing else exists. Buddhism, nothing else exists. What you see before your eyes is, in fact, the interaction of the subtle self in compliance with the direction of the greater self. But to everything had he given a beginning, and to everything he shall give an end. He had no father, no mother, nothing, all that, because he's all alone. And because God had no body like this, we don't know how. We have body, essence have, but the subtle self and the greater self, we cannot visualize it. We cannot see it. It's invisible. No form, no shape, nothing. So we don't know anything about him. So he doesn't have, Allah does not have a body. Therefore, he did not need to sleep, to eat. He did not die, did not walk, move. And he lived even though he doesn't have human characteristics. Okay. Allah, there is no God but he, the living, the self-subsisting, eternal, no slumber can seize him, no sleep. So he amused himself with his subtle self. So his subtle self you can see 24 hours in motion. I'm talking. You are listening. Other people singing. Other people walking, talking. All the time, emotion. But when we have the second level, we realize that emotion is a subtle self, commanded by the greater self. Okay. Straight away, you can see everything that moves. You know the Mahalus, the subtle self. Straight away. Why you said that? Because the form got no power. The essence got no power. So how can it move? It can't move. It's like a comic book, can't move. It's just a painted thing, can't move. The essence also can't move, no power. But how can it move? Because the subtle self, the Mahalus encompassing all that. The Mahalus that move, the subtle self move. But in a certain form, camouflage. No? So if you see through the camouflage, you see all the movement, everything, you know, oh, it is him. Okay? And therefore, all the time he's in action, because human being, all the time in action. Okay? And therefore, he cannot sleep. No slumber can seize him, no sleep, cannot. And eternal, subsisting, he must be eternal. Every day, he is on some matter. I'm talking, lecturing. And if you look at me, you have learned this. It's the subtle self talking. You listening, the subtle self. So every day he's on the move, you know, even now on the move. Okay. And they say, do we human beings have a right to interfere, right to intervene, right to participate? And Allah say, indeed, the affair belongs only to Allah. Of course, He is amusing himself with himself, right? The greater self is amusing himself with his lesser self. It's indeed the affair belonged to him all alone. No other existed. And Allah said, say, all is from Allah. What has happened to these people that they seem to understand nothing? See, I hope you have come to the second level. I hope you can understand what I'm trying to put to you, okay? So there's a greater self, now the subtle self. Here you see, Professor Ramadan. He says, Allah, behind the form, the mankind, behind all this mankind, is this subtle self. And that subtle self that allows us to live according to the format, the low mahfuz. That's why I say Allah endowed mankind minuscule of his attribute. That is the lesser self, the Latif. To be used or as equipment to carry on with the burden of their life for which they are created for. And to enable them to enjoy the benefit of his knowledge, power, will, and other. This knowledge, power, will is with the lesser self. Okay? And because of this, you see mankind as if have the right to live, have the right to do all kinds of things. Actually, all that doings, interactions are but the Mahalus, the subtle self. Mahalus, there's no other. Okay. So you can see here the diagram. The subtle self, that's the power, but given by the greater self. The subtle self has a lesser power, the greater self will be bigger power, but the subtle self, lesser power. And this was behind the light, the essence, behind the pictures. Okay? And therefore, it can cause movement in the still pictures and in the light. But the power, the lesser power, is the subtle part. You can see here, I show you. These are something that this is a lorry carrying a lot of cars. Okay? And then the driver of the lorry. And this is the dog. Once the lorry is stopped, there is a great emergency brake. The one of the car came off and rolled down. The driver did not know because it was the back part of the lorry. And there's two hikers waiting for a car to come so that they can hike, And they saw this car. And they went to the car, they saw it empty, but there's a key in the car. And they say, oh, thank God for sending the car to me. Right. So I have full faith and patience. But you understand this, you look at this. I explain to you. The powerhouse, that is the machine, is just like the essence. Like the subtle part, the powerhouse. And the light, and it's like the essence. And the films that is shown by the light, that is the still picture, the low mahfuz. And from the light, okay. So this is the low mahfuz. But you see this, you realize these are still pictures, but how can it move? And then you go back to the essence, it's just a light, how can it move? Then you see the powerhouse behind. That is the Latif. That one have power. So when you see the town, people walking here and there, people eating, you realize how can this form eat and walk? They got no power, nothing. Just a form, manifestation. How can they move and eat? It's the subtle part, the subtle self in action. Okay? Similarly, you see the bird fly, the animals walk. But when you see how can this picture or hologram or mirage move, the subtle self. Similarly, you see the forest. How can it grows greeneries and all that? It's just a picture. You take a photograph, you hang on your wall. You think the picture, the trees in the picture will grow? No. But in this case, it's in the low mahfuz. That is the form, the essence. Behind it, the subtle self that make the tree grows. So what you see, actually the trees are just painting. But the one that make it move and grow is the subtle self. Similarly, like here, you see the iceberg in the ocean. Okay. In actual fact, the iceberg is the water of the ocean. If it moves because the ocean moves it, okay, and cause the water around the iceberg to move. Okay. Similarly, see the Great World, the First World War, the Second World War, these are all the subtle self in action. So what I today basically pointing out to you, hey, forget about the pandangan sifat. Forget about pandangan hakikat. Hey, forget about pandangan marifat, man. Forget it. We are second level. You only see the subtle self in action. We also don't exist. You understand what I'm trying to? We are on the second level. Okay, of course, if you want to lecture, you have to teach them first level first. How can primary straight university cannot go primary first, right? This is already higher level. You don't see the sifat anymore. Forget pandangan sifat, pandangan hakikat. Forget it. Forget about pandangan yang yakin. Forget about certainty of outlook, certainty of knowledge, certainty of vision. Forget it. You see straight away, including yourself, is the subtle self in action. Right? Controlled and commanded by the greater self. Only one existence. So even that Israeli situation, see the bombardment, everything, forget it. Right? Don't need to pandang hakikat, sifat hakikat. So if you still heard our Jamaah talk about pandangan sifat hakikat, you all shut up, okay? Keep quiet. They are still at primary school. No need to confuse them. When time comes, they can be upgraded, Okay. So you see the goalkeeper, all that, everything. The referee, the striker, everything is but the subtle self in action. Again, I remind you, don't need to use pandangan sifat, pandangan hakikat. No need already lah. Okay. All subtle selves, or forget what we are this level. You always see everything before you. Subtle self in action. That's why you say everything will be destroyed except my subtle self, my container, wajah. And therefore, when you look things before you, I am seeing your subtle self, oh Allah. No need to use pandangan marifat. So you see, when you say, all I see before me is the subtle self, so your companion say, are you using the marifat outlook? You say, hey, the marifat outlook you use, not to worry about me. Okay, the marifat outlook you use yourself. Okay, Don't worry about me. Because we know the only existence is a subtle self that moves everything. The rest are just manifestation, no power, nothing, zero, zero. Okay. Huh? So you see here, behind this facade, I'm seeing your subtle self, oh Allah. Okay. And no need to say I see with the pandangan marifat anymore. No need. Okay. So because it's clear, is the manifest and the hidden. Okay. The subtle part of him, the manifest and the hidden is a subtle part. He's not talking about the form. He's not talking about the essence. He's talking about his subtle part. He's the manifest, he's the hidden, the subtle part. He's not talking about the manifestation. He's not talking about the greater self, because the greater self did not become a tajalli. The greater self did not tajalli. The subtle self that tajalli. Okay? So he's the hidden, is the subtle self. Okay, no need to use anymore. Pandangan hakikat makrifat no need. So once you know this, wherever you turn, that is the subtle part of it. Okay. One who knows himself and know his God will surely know that he does not exist. So how can you see the forms or the essence? This never exists. I'm saying you, your subtle self, oh Allah. The continuum between the greater self and the lesser self, the great Akbar and the Latif. The continuum, kesenambungan, continuum. See, even the elephant makes sense. Hey, who you think shake my tail? Even elephant makes sense. You know? Hey, who you think shake my tail? And that is the subtle, the Latif, the tail. And the elephant, the greater, Akbar. So he's elephant say, hey, you think what? Hey, who shake my tail? Definitely the greater self that shake the tail. Even elephant also marifat. Who the greater? Who do you think shake my tail? When you realize, when you see everything is but the subtle self. Everything, be it the priest, be it the imam, be it the nun, be it the Hindu thing, what everything, animals, mankind, everything, you see the subtle self in action. Then this, it may cause you to cry, because you realize wherever you turn, the subtle self in action. No need to use hakikat, sifat hakikat marifat. Straight away, you see the subtle self in action. Hey, this is it's point blank. So if you look at yourself also, shut up. You know the secret. Shut up. And that's what you must follow the Pak Pandi say. What I see, what ear, listen, what mouth, shut up. And clap your hand, pretend to know. Okay? And you can see, yeah. So when Allah has chosen you, now we are given this knowledge now, the second level. Okay? He will place you above the others and will enlighten you spiritually and will bestow unto you his benevolence and blessing. If you really understood this well, what I've delivered tonight, inshallah, you will be enlightened spiritually and you will receive his benevolence and blessing. I am full faith about it. And open the door of inspiration as well as honor. Honor you with consciousness, waking you up from the slumber of those who are neglectful. Okay? So, no need for you to see the subtle self run to the pandangan sifat, dan pandangan hakikat, dan pandangan marifat. No need to run to that anymore, right? Straight away, I see the subtle self in action. So they are blind, all except Allah. They only see Allah because they know the subtle self will not move. It's like a tail of the elephant will not move if the elephant did not move it. Okay? And therefore, Imam Ahmad Rifai say, if you really have the knowledge of God, see, you know this, verily He will teach you a knowledge that you will never be ignorant. You will never be ignorant anymore. So every time you see, you know, hey, no need when you see one person coming because he attended the seminar and he didn't know that you have this knowledge. He come to you and try to teach you. You know, you can see Allah. You have pandangan sifat first, pandangan hakikat first, pandangan marifat first. This person still a long way to go. Because if you only have the knowledge of God, really He will teach you knowledge that you will never be ignorant anymore. Okay? So if you want to humor Him, you listen. Listen. After all, if you humor Him, we can give you teh tarik free. You in the Starbucks store. Huh? But you don't need to use this. I will explain to you how you can see Allah. First, the sifat, pandangan sifat. Second, the hakikat. Then you see the marifat. Kan? It's up to you lah. You want to listen, you listen. You don't want, you can sleep. Because once you have this level, you don't need that. Okay. So Allah said, once enlightened, Imam Ghazali said, it became clear to him the real truth about Allah, as clearly manifested on all His creations. And that is the subtle self. As if it is beyond reasonable doubt to those who see it. You see, 100% is the subtle one, who are in action, because this subtle self is the only one with power, not the others. So, I stop here. I will continue the third part. Today is what date? Today 15. Okay. The next part will be on the 22nd. After that, I'll be in Selaya for Q&A. Okay. And Makassar. So we stop here. I hope you all do learn what I'm trying to pass to you and put you on the second level. No more the first level. May Allah bless you all and me too. And may His da'wah move further and further ahead. So I'm back to Bayu. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.